To some point, yes.
You talk about...
I'm talking about Mr. Obama.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy with his speech in Cairo. For me, this speech has many... Let me be honest with you. Many lies for me. Maybe he wasn't aware of it, but it wasn't the truth.
But he has a partial Muslim. He says he's Christian. I have no reason to doubt that right now, that he's Christian, but he was raised Muslim. Do you think
he spent 7 years of his life in Indonesia. So maybe subconsciously he's acting as a Muslim, even if he doesn't consider himself. Because the way he bowed to the Saudi king, I really didn't appreciate it.
Okay,
because I haven't seen any even Muslim president, bow to the Saudi king the same way Mr. Obama did, and it shocked me. It shocked me, and I have heard that people specifically in Indonesia, believe that the Saudis are the family of Muhammad, and they always, when they meet a Saudi, they bow out of respect.
Oh, so any Muslim would bow to a Saudi because...
In Indonesia, I have heard, not any Muslim, not in Syria, but I have heard that specifically in Indonesia, people believe that the Saudi represent Muhammad,
the family of Muhammad,
the family of Muhammad, so they bow out of respect. So I don't know if he did it,
Well, you say in your book, you talk about the night that Colin Powell said, people saying that Barack Obama is Muslim, he says he's not. Well, so what if he is? So what if he is a Muslim?
Yeah, exactly, because, Mr. Colin Powell, I believe he was raised by the American...
To be tolerant and acceptable of all religions.
Moral code, not to judge people on their religious... based on their religious belief. But nobody had the right, especially here in the West, to be ignorant about the fact that Islam is not only a religion. It is a political ideology imposed itself by force, because the essence of Islam, as I mentioned before, is to take over the world.
So you can't separate this.
You cannot separate between Islam as a religion as a state. That's why I am against using the terms radical Islam, Wahhabi Islam, political Islam, militant Islam. Growing up in Syria, I had never heard those terms. I believe the West has invented those terms to make people
we can't understand how in the name of religion so we tend to look at this and we say, well, they've become radicalized. There's not...
Islam by itself is radical. Muhammad said, I'm ordered by God to take over the world. Islam will be one day the religion of the whole world. And Muhammad has to be the role model for every Muslim.
Well, let's look at a country like Turkey, where they're a secular country, but their main form of religion there is Islam. They seem to be Muslim, and they don't...
Maybe their Islam is mixed between the real Islam and their pre-Islamic culture. You will see people less Islamic in every non-Arab Muslim country, because Islam is Arabic religion.
Okay.
Do you understand this point? So it might be little different than the real Islam. Take Iran an example. I'm not talking about the government in Iran, but the Iranian people. They're proud of their pre-Islamic culture, which is the Persians culture. But in the Arab world, Islam has become our culture, has become our identity. So it might be little different in any non-Arab Muslim country than it is in any Arabic country. So I'm talking about my Islam, the Arab Islam, the real Islam.
Can you practice Islam in this country? Can you be a Muslim in this country?
I don't believe you. Of course, under the American Constitution, you can practice any religion, but truly, I believe you cannot be a true Muslim and a true American at the same time.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
Because to be true Muslim, you have to live under Islamic Sharia.
So, well, we're going to talk about how that extends to people then serving in the American Armed Forces, because I do want to touch again on Major Hassan, and was this an outlying case, or do you think that people are joining the American military to actually have that foothold? We'll get Wafa Sultan's thoughts on that. Plus, we'll take your calls coming back. 866-920-9455. Continuing our discussion with the author of A God Who Hates. That link is up on our website if you're interested in getting that book for yourself. 866-920-WHJJ.
The Helen Glover Show on Talk Radio 920 WHJJ.
It's Talk Radio 920 WHJJ. I'm Helen Glover. Major Nidal Malik Hassan, the alleged shooter in the Fort Hood massacre, facing an additional 32 counts of attempted premeditated murder. Hassan, the U.S. Army psychiatrist, already charged with 13 counts of premeditated murder for the murder of 13 people who he shot fatally at the Army post November 5th. The 32 counts of attempted premeditated murder are related to the 30 soldiers and 2 civilians injured in the shooting. The penalties he's facing right now, minimum, I guess, under Article 18 Uniform Code of Military Justice, sees him prison with the chance of parole, prison and life in prison with the chance of parole. Maximum, of course, is death. And we're talking with Wafa Sultan, the author of A God Who Hates. The link for that book is up on our website at 920WHJJ.com. Numbers to call to join the conversation here, 866-920-9455, 866-920-WHJJ. Wafa, we were talking during the break about Major Hassan, and we noticed now that since 9/11, we found the need, we don't have a lot of Arab language translators in the military, and that's essential. So they've done a big recruitment, trying to get as many Muslims to join the military as possible, hoping for that, that cross-culture that we need to succeed in that area of the world. But then we look at Major Hassan, who was very clear to everybody, I am a Muslim first and American second. And then he does this mass murder, the worst attack on American soil since 9/11. And I'm wondering, do we now, I mean, we there's a fine line here. Do we start looking at people in the military who are Muslim with suspicion, which I don't think anybody wants to start a witch hunt, or how do we look at this and say, how many more Major Hassans could there be out there?
Helen, let me first distinguish between Islam and Muslims. I'm not here to incite people against Muslims.
Right.
Muslims actually are my people, and I wouldn't do it. I am here against Islam as a hateful doctrine.
So how do we separate Islam and Muslim? I thought they were one and the same. I thought one was the religion.
Islam is the religion.
Islam is the religion.
Muslims are the follower.
Follower of Islam.
Of Islam.
Okay.
And many Muslims have, they don't know much. They're not familiar with Islamic teachings.
So they're maybe not practicing Muslim,
exactly.
But they describe themselves as Muslim.
Or they consciously, progress
okay.
beyond their religion.
And obviously this is what Major Hassan was doing. Contacts with terrorists overseas.
Absolutely. Once you are a true Muslim, once you are familiar with Islam and you believe in Islam, then you cannot be a true American.
You can't serve both.
You will always be loyal to Islam.
So if someone tells you, I am Muslim first, then American,
He will never be American, true American. He's always Muslim. He will never be American. Because if you are practicing the real Islam, you must try to establish Islamic Sharia.
Okay.
You must refuse to live under American Constitution.
So once you lock, stock, and barrel buy into this.
I heard that million times from Muslims, true Muslims here in this country, that we are here to replace the American Constitution with Islamic Sharia. And they believe it. And they are well trained to be patient until the time is ripe so they can attack and do whatever they are aiming to do.
I've got to be. I was going to get the calls, but you just said something here that made me latch on to that last statement. They are trained to be patient. This is what we're facing in Afghanistan. We are facing an area of these people are going to be patient no matter what it takes. So how do we root out an enemy like the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and how do we reestablish Afghanistan for the people?
It is not easy task, but I believe you have to put somehow Muslims under your microscopic observation.
Do you do that by force, or do you do that by winning the hearts and minds of the people there? How do we do that?
By combination of both,
Okay.
I believe.
What is the message to them to get them to understand that they need to turn their backs on the Taliban?
You know, you need to teach him values. You need to teach him how to value lives. In the Islamic culture, we have never learned to value human life, because we are here to fight for the sake of Allah. It doesn't matter if we kill.
Why aren't there more women like you, Wafa? Why aren't the women rising up and saying enough?
Helen, it's not easy. It's very
I understand.
draining. It is not easy to live under fear 24/7 of your life.
We heard about that case of Rivka Berry, the little girl in Ohio
Of
who
course.
flew.
There is many million cases.
So is she
And
correct? Is her life in danger by going back to her family?
I always say, give freedom to Muslim women and guarantee their safety, and count them the very next day how many Muslim will be left.
All right, let's grab a few of these calls here. I know I got people dying to talk to you here. Sandy in Rehoboth is next on 920 WHAJ. Good morning, Sandy. What's your question?
Hi. It's not a question, it's a comment.
Okay.
I know that there are a lot of Muslim men and women who are settling, and I happen to know, from family in northern Italy, and they are very, very concerned because it's become pretty much non-religious in that country, and the young women are being attracted to these Muslim men, and the families are becoming very concerned. So they know who to target, because like a relative of mine was saying, you won't find a lot of them in Portugal because it's still a very strong Roman Catholic country. Listening to the doctor, she's on target about how they go in and recruit. They know where to go, the countries to go into. And also, you're talking about also recruiting for Al-Qaeda. You don't hear about it much, but I also get newspaper reports from the Twin City areas.
No, that's, yeah.
There are a lot
It's a
of
hotbed.
men that are missing, young men, and the only reason that they know is the fathers don't report them missing. I think the fathers know, but the mothers go looking for them. And one wonders, and and this government and the government up there wonder, have they been recruited by Al-Qaeda?
Yeah, and there's a problem in the Detroit area as well, Sandy. There's a lot of Somali kids going back and getting recruited and being radicalized, and then coming back to the country, because a lot of them are American-born. Sandy, thanks so much for the call. I want to grab Ronnie real quick. Ronnie in Warwick is next on 920 WHAJ. Good morning, Ronnie.
Good morning. First of all, I have a lot of friends from Syria, like they're Armenian Syrians. And what she's telling, it's really brutal in Arab countries. But my question is to her, there is any religion who in certain time of the history didn't did same things to women or to people that does now Muslim? The point of religion is to control the crowds. That's why I always talk against any form of religion.
But Ronnie, I understand what you're saying, Ronnie, because I was thinking that as the doctor was speaking, I thought, okay, well, you can look back into what we call the Dark Ages when Christianity did their purges, and you're right about other religions doing that.
Christianity being forced in
Ronnie,
my country.
2009 we are, Ronnie. 2009 we shouldn't we shouldn't be going backward, and that's the problem.
There are tribal, exactly. There are tribal tribal people in Amazon still living in a Stone Age. So,
Ronnie, that's there. What we're talking about is coming into mainstream areas and doing this, and that's what I'm amazed at.
The problem is